Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. Boy, do we have a great guest for you this evening, don't we, Dennis?
We always have great guests, and this is no exception.
Right.
I'm
and
excited.
yes. We have a wonderful guest who has been doing all kinds of good work in Northeast Connecticut. He's a member of the NAACP, and he also has a radio show. And his name is Andrew
Irby.
Irby.
Right.
Thank you.
That's IRBY.
Yes, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to Let's Talk About It.
Thank you guys for considering me and for having me on the show today. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so, I met Andrew when he gave a wonderful presentation at the event that the NAACP hosts in January. And I thought, boy, I'd love to have this guy on the show to talk about Black History Month. And I'm glad we made it just in time because this is the last day of Black History Month.
That's
I
what I
guess
wrote.
you guys decided to save the best for last, huh?
Yeah, you got it, Andrew.
Exactly.
Hey, you sound like a politician for crying out loud. That's good.
I think you might
I have no problem with politicians. I'm been known to be one myself.
We're all politicians.
Yeah, I put the big toe in there last election season for Selectman in Thompson. Unfortunately, it didn't go my way, but learned a lot on the way. So to me, it's not a true loss because of the lessons that we learned on the journey. So I loved everything about it. It was just one of those eye-opening experiences to be considered for such a position, but also to gain followers along the way, to gain supporters along the way. That was what really meant most to me.
That's exactly what it is, Andrew. I've counseled a lot of younger people who have vied for political office and didn't win the first time, and I'll tell you, you never lose. You always gain. You learn a lot. You meet a lot of people. And if you stay with it, and if you want to stay with it, and you don't have to, but if you do, it's all cumulative. And,
so I think this is just the first go around so far.
Cool. And I know you were not born and raised in Thompson. I was not born and raised in Windham. I was born and raised in New Britain, Connecticut. So when I came here, I was sort of treated like a little bit like a foreigner. Back in the day, and it took me a while to really get to know everybody. And once they got to know me, and of course Susan came with me, and Susan's all right. Susan, Susan's trying to get my attention here.
Yeah, because I want to talk about you, Andrew, and but it's nice that we heard about some of his experiences. But I'll reserve everybody's information about me for later. But we want to hear about your background and upbringing because you have a lot to say about how changes occurred during your growing up.
Yeah, growing up, grew up in Bellingham, from Bellingham to North Kingstown, dabbled in and out of Cranston and Providence, and then moved to Connecticut. I started having children at a very young age. I was a graduating senior when my daughter was born in 2000. And that experience definitely put maturity on the fast track, to say the least.
It certainly does. Everybody who wants to do right by their little ones really has to zoom into maturity and figure out how they're going to make the living and make sure that the little ones are going to be living in comfort.
Absolutely, yeah, and it really did take a village. That's one of those comments that I live on, that it does take a village to raise each and every one of us, and the village that supported me is now supporting my children, and so on. And so I'm very, very happy and pleased to have the family and support that we do have. But, yeah, I will say growing up as an extreme minority did present its own challenges, but it's what shaped me into who I am today. So I don't use it as a crutch or have any type of victim mentality. That's how I fuel everything that I do. I've been told by so many that I shouldn't be where I'm at. Well, cool, I'm glad where I'm at. I must be doing something right.
Exactly, and I think that people should just stop putting limitations on us and just have us figure out the path that we need to take and also make paths available, which is one reason people like to go into politics, so that they can make sure that everybody has a path to be able to take care of themselves and their family and participate in the community. And so, this is one of the things that you want to maybe talk a little bit more about, social challenges as a minority.
Yeah, that's a very great question and a segment that we could probably talk for hours on. But
Sure.
yeah, growing up with different social challenges as an extreme minority in Bellingham, Massachusetts, during the mid '80s through the '90s, it was challenging. I think there was maybe 5 other people of color in the school I went to in Bellingham, which was Stallbrook Elementary. I know I was the only child of color at my kindergarten, but I didn't notice it, honestly. It's like when you open your eyes, your world is your world.
Right.
And sure, you might be the only person who looks how you look, but that's it. So I became used to that. I didn't know anything different. I'll fast forward just a wee bit. When I went to Atlanta for the first time and I came off the jet and I saw the sea of colored people, I was shocked. I almost empowered. And I looked over at the gentleman I was traveling with, and he had said, "What's that smile on your face? I haven't seen you smile ever that big." I was like, "Man, I feels like charged. It's different. That I don't want to say it's the Atlanta air, but it's what I'm seeing is what's got me so excited, I guess, and feeling rejuvenated. I've never been in a place where there was that many black people before, and it was something that I've never felt before. I ran to call my parents to tell them, like, is this what this is supposed to feel like? You're like, yeah, you've never been in a city, metropolitan area or scenario where there's that many black people, let alone your family. So that was a game changer. But yeah, even going through high school and such, sure, you're one of a handful of people of color. No big deal. Until issues like racism pop up, or you start to enter in 11th grade history and you start to talk about slavery. You start to talk about civil rights. And you have those few ignorant children that are in the classroom with you and think it's funny to bellow out the N-word until they get a slap across the back of the head and said, "We can go outside after next," if you like to, But those are the moments that really do build character and do thicken your skin to the point where you can deal with people pushing back on you when you decide to put your big toe into the political world. And they don't like your appearance. They don't like how you sound. Or they don't like what you have to say. And I always wonder why they don't like those things about certain people.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they themselves don't have those attributes. I don't know what it is, but it's the strangest, most bizarre thing getting into politics, how certain people won't like you. Maybe it's because of party affiliations, but I was getting a lot of criticism for how I sounded and how I dressed.
Well, you sound
You
great
can't
to
pick-
me. You got a great radio voice. You sound very, very good.
Appreciate that.
And I want to just entertain some of that you just said, because I think that there's certainly there's the herding mentality of people historically, people in villages all being similar. And then as we travel around the world and bring people in and out of different countries all over the world, there's more meeting of different people in different ways that they look, act, talk, cultures, all those things. One of the interesting things about America is that we have a lot of that all in one place, although I think it's happening more and more all over the world. But I think herding is one of the things that occurs with people. It's just kind of a way that they work together kind of, in a group. But the other thing that I think is very important to express some interest in is the idea of family history, Black history, and the reason we have Black History Month. And these are the kinds of things that I think give everybody a sense of community, whether everybody looks alike or not.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah. And Black history is important to all of us.
Yes.
Black history isn't just to celebrate if you're black and you get to come into the proverbial Black History room. No, Black history should be celebrated every day. But in February, I'm thankful that we highlight it. And while, I'm still quite young, my mother is a part of said Black history. She was part of the first graduating class of African-American women at Providence College.
Wow, that's great.
And to me, that's near and dear to my heart when people start to criticize Black history. Like, can't we get on from here? No, why can't we celebrate it?
Right.
Or the extreme ignorance, well, where's White History Month? Well, isn't every ounce of history that we celebrate that's not Black history, Native American history, white history? Question mark?
Yeah, and of course, and as a woman, and a white woman at that, there are a lot of people, whether they're black women or white women, that are not celebrated for their work as well.
Correct. Correct, and that's the other thing too. I want to sit down with my mother at some point and really dive into this a little bit more, because within the Black culture, there's different levels of acceptance depending on your skin tone. And my mother is incredibly light, so I want to know what her experience was growing up, going through some of the civil rights eras, and being part of this first class of African American women graduating at such a prestigious college in Rhode Island. So I'm curious to see what her level of acceptance was as being a fair-skinned woman, almost appearing white, but not being accepted by whites, and sometimes not being accepted by blacks because she's not black enough. And that's some of the phrasing that I heard even going through the campaign by, closer friends. They might have joked with you because you sound polished, you look polished. Well, are you black enough? And I say that in a joking way, but still it does affect a person when you start to question them and their character. And so I don't want to digress too much, but those are some of the subjects that I'd love to get into in some future conversations, especially with the Black community, even in Black history. Like you said earlier, we have this pack mentality, and some of us can only pack with those who look like us, sound like us, and that's our herd, that's our pack. But for instance, today in America, I'm an American, you're an American. Why can't we be in the same pack?
Exactly, and we should be. And that brings me to one more issue, and that is the sense of community that we have. One of the things that we do here with WILI, AM and FM on your radio dial, and with sharing schools, sharing a lot of going to the same stores, all these churches, all these things give us that sense of community where we can have our own pack for people here, either whether you're in Windham/Willimantic, Eastern Connecticut, all in the same pack, depending on how you take a look at, the things that we have in common.
Yes. Yeah. I love the community aspect. That's really why I got into politics. I want to do the best for our community. I don't want to be the best. I want to do the best for our community. And sometimes when you get into politics, a lot of it's self-serving, but I always put my best foot forward to do best for others and put myself last. It wasn't about having a picture on a billboard or being voted into office saying, look what I did. No, it's look what we can do together as a community. And I mentioned that because there were those who opposed me when I was running and said, well, I'm doing this for my community. Well, let me stop you right there. Am I not part of that community? I live in town. If you're for the town and I'm bringing ideas that you think are great, why would you oppose me?
Exactly.
Especially if you're so in favor of said community. So I scratch my head on some of the rationale that people come up with to defend their actions when they do things that disrupt our community. And my community is a little different. My community stretches over the border into Rhode Island, covers most of Rhode Island, and goes all the way into Connecticut down into Windham. That's my community. Your community can be what it is, but what's so wrong with mine being so large? I affect, touch, see, and help people along the way, regardless if it's, hey, let me get your name and number, and I'm going to give it to somebody who's looking for help if you need help, whether it's employment help, whether it's housing help, whatever it may be, but let me help you. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what party affiliation it is. I don't care what your tax returns are. If you're a good person, you want some help, call me. I'm here to help.
Well, I just wanted to say that, a lot of people, when you get involved in local politics in your community, I think people who do that generally are people who see the community as their family. Some people's definition of family is only the people who live in their home. But I think I and Susan have been, we've been working really hard for the benefit of the entire community here for a long time. And I just see... I want to live in a community that's thriving, where people like each other, where people are doing well economically, and, we work towards that. I think that's the same kind of feeling you have up in Thompson, which is wonderful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I was scratching my head so when people would say some of the things they said, like, I am not a perfect human being. I made plenty of mistakes growing up. But I think all of us growing up, to get to where you're at today, you have to make mistakes, because how else can you learn? To me, mistakes really do shape our character. And I never once came out and said, oh, I'm a goody two-shoes. I have a halo over my head. No, I am who I am. I've owned every mistake I've done, and I plan to own it going further, so that when children look at someone like me, like, oh, I look like him. I may not sound like him, but that could be me. But I have some baggage. I made a couple of mistakes. He doesn't appear to have made any mistakes. Like, no, I'm a human just like you. I'm perfectly imperfect. So let me show you, better yet, let me inspire you on ways where you too can overcome adversity with some of the things that you did yourself to yourself. People say, well, how do you do that? Well, first, you got to heal from it. And secondly, you have to own it. You have to be accountable for what you have done, whether it was just you who was involved in this incident or others were involved. You need to come right out front and say, here's what I did. I apologize for all of it, and let's move on from here. We don't have to dwell and beat ourselves up over our past, but I do think we need to acknowledge it so that people don't think that we're trying to pull a fast one on them, and then move forward. That's all I try to preach in my community.
Yeah, Andrew, you have to live in the here and the now. The most important day of your life is today. And that's what it's all about. I mean, it took me a long time to learn that. I mean, I'm heck of a lot older than you are, and I probably learned a lot slower. But I was lucky enough to grow up in a community that was relatively integrated, even back in the 1950s, and that was New Britain, Connecticut. It's an urban center in central Connecticut, and there was not. The white population was dominant, of course, but there was a fairly substantial black population and also Latino population there. And I played sports, so I got to know a lot of people, and white, black, Latino, and played ball with them. And it was great. So I've always been a great fan of integration, and I had an opportunity to work with a guy named Kenneth Clark, who was the husband of a woman named Mamie Clark. They were two of the key witnesses in Brown versus Board of Education. And I was serving as a lawyer in a civil rights case involving a town in Connecticut, and we were legal aid lawyers, and the Justice Department came in and helped us out with the case, and they hired Kenneth Clark, not Mamie, but Kenneth Clark, the husband. He's long since passed away. But I had a chance to go to lunch with him and talk to him, and he's a strong advocate for the importance of integration in schools and everywhere else, because you can't, you appreciate people a lot more when you live around them, and you get to understand them, and you realize that we're all the same generally, and I think that was a great experience for me.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. My kids race motocross, and they're advancing at a rapid pace, and they've been around children who have been homeschooled. And their first comments back to me were, Dad, these kids are awkward. They're socially awkward. They don't know how to talk. They don't look at me when they talk. So, yeah, this is the beauty of being in public schools and being integrated and being around other people, seeing differences throughout society. You have to be able to appreciate and accept thy neighbor.
Yes,
it says it in all the important books. But here it's 2026, and I don't feel that much accepted simply because of party affiliations and other political constructs. It's a beautiful moment in society to be 2026, but also I feel like we're taking so many steps backwards, and I just beg the question, why?
I just want to say one thing when I mentioned herding. One way to herd is with a team sport, and having everybody involved in team sports is one way to get people together to have a common goal and to work together, and that kind of brings, especially children, getting them involved in team sports helps them develop, helps them work with people, all the people in the community, no matter what their race, what their color, all of those things, and they'll be able to work together with the team sports, and that will help people have a sense of community and society, and also when they get into a working environment, they'll also understand that ethic of working together, and for that one, either to win the game or to take care of the business.
Yeah, I love the team aspect. I even refer to our family as a team.
Good.
So guys, sure, I may be dad, my wife may be stepmom, but we are all a team. We all have to fire on all cylinders or we fail.
That's right.
We fail, and I don't want to fail.
Well,
so I embrace that team mentality.
Susan learned a lot about what she knows about team sports from me.
Absolutely.
I was playing. My father took me out when I was 4 years old, started throwing the ball around with me, and I got into basketball and played sandlot football and all kinds of stuff. And I'll tell you, the thing that you learn, not only getting along with people in team sports and working as a team, is you also learn how to rebound from failure. Because as you know, if you play baseball, you strike out one at bat, you got another at bat coming up, and there's always another chance. As long as you're not finished, there's always another chance, and that is, I want to say, I looked at the results of your election up in Thompson, and you didn't win, but you got a lot of votes. You got a lot of votes, and that's not a town that's known for being, super liberal, and I know where, it's up in the northeast corner, right in the corner, and it's predominantly white town, and you came really, really close to getting on the Board of Selectmen.
Very close.
Very close. That's right. And I know how that works. I'm a town attorney in a lot of towns, and I tell you, I was very much impressed with your performance in that election. Not just your ability. I just watched you debate your opponent on WINY in a video I saw today, and you did a marvelous job. And I think you connected with a lot of voters, and you got a lot of votes. You had a good result.
Yeah, I thank you for that. And that's why I say that to everybody who was on the campaign committee, family, friends, anybody who supported me. Again, it's not a loss. It's a lesson learned. We know what to do come next time. All of the debates, in my opinion, were fantastic. And I think the other side showed who was the victor, because our campaign and our party shared that hundreds of times. The opponent never once shared it. So when you don't share something, to me, you're not trying to hide something, but you don't want to promote or market maybe not such a lackluster performance, we'll say.
It looked to me like you took the high road all the time, and always taking the high road is always a good idea.
Yeah, and I don't need to get into the weeds, but when they ask some of those really particular questions, like, what are your plans for the town? I had a definable, measurable plan.
Yep.
Now, is it the bluest of plans? No, it wasn't the bluest of plans, but it was a plan that could have absolutely helped out with our current tax situation. It's a plan that could have helped out with our budget situation, which we are now going to face probably one of the worst budget seasons in probably the last 20, if not 30 years. If we thought last year was bad, hold on. This year is going to be a monster of a budget season.
Andrew, that's happening all over the state, and especially east of the river. And I represent 3 small towns, and I live in Windham. Windham is a tough town. In terms of economics, I just met with the town manager today. We were talking about it. Anyway, it's time for us to take our commercial break, Andrew. So we're going to come back in a few minutes. But for now, stay on the line, because we can still talk, and we won't be live radio, but we will be recorded. So stay on the line.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Susan Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Dennis O'Brien, and our very, very special guest this evening, Andrew Irby, who is a member of the NAACP with us, and also here to discuss Black History Month and talk about some of the things that he's been doing up in Thompson, Connecticut, and on the radio. He has a radio show, too. And so we're going to just talk more about what's going on with Andrew Irby. So go ahead and tell us about
the radio.
Yeah, tell us about the radio show. Yeah.
So the radio thing, radio is near and dear to me. I still believe I'm the youngest person to be on 90.3, which is URI's college radio show. When I was going to school in North Kingstown High School, there was a program to take select 11th graders and put them in as interns into professions that they really wanted to pursue. Mine at the time was really big on communications, marketing, but I loved to DJ. So a gentleman at North Kingstown High brought me up to URI, and I met everybody who's anybody who is currently, and even back then, very big in Rhode Island hip-hop. So that's how I got immersed into this radio program at URI. So I spent 5 years there, went dormant. From there, I was active in all live shows that took place in Rhode Island, from Lupo's to the Strand to the Ocean Mist, We did everything. Open mic nights, big performances, national known artists, you name it, we were involved as a promotional arm for that. Fast forwarding to today, very good friend of mine, Nick Sorrell, known better as DJ Head Honcho, invited me to help him run the boards, add my personality and my music taste to the Juice FM, which is a brand new, the only urban radio show in Rhode Island. I'm actually in the studio right now helping out because somebody was on vacation, and he and I are here doing that before our show, which takes place later on this evening.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that you were on tonight, so I figured that's why. That's cool. 2 radio shows in one night. That would be a record for me. I've never done that.
It's a first for me as well.
Cool. That's cool. We're glad to be part of it.
Yeah, we'll have to do some more of this. So, yeah. So tell us more about the community support and engagement with volunteer work. What kind of volunteer work are you doing?
So I am, I believe now I'm a 10-year volunteer for Adult and Teen Challenge of Southern New England. Deborah Manzo runs that facility in Taunton, but their whole arm stretches all the way up from Maine down to Florida. They're all over the country. And no, they're not the organizations and or groups that wakes kids up in the middle of the night and takes them off to a facility. No, these facilities are strictly based on rehabilitating those who suffer from drug abuse, sexual abuse, other social constructs with faith and religion.
That's wonderful.
No medications are allowed on site, and the program graduates more kids than not. It's a beautiful, beautiful program. Their success rate, in my opinion, is 98%. I've seen a couple that have failed. And I only bring that up because I think all of us need to understand that there aren't things that are 100% sometimes, especially these programs that are supposed to rehabilitate people. We have heard horror stories about how people fall off the wagon, and I never want to present something that's, the Superman of programs. No, let's be realistic here. Failure is a part of life. And even with programs that have such high success rate, we do have to talk about some of the failures. This one in particular, I've only seen 2 women because the chapter here in Southern New England is a women's chapter. There is a men's chapter, I believe, in Brockton and another one in Worcester. If anybody needs help, can absolutely get them involved. But beyond the failures, their success rate is beautiful. I've seen women come into their facility missing every tooth in their mouth because of drug addiction, because of living on the streets, homelessness. And then they graduate a reformed, changed person. A beautiful human being is walking out of their facility, getting ready to contribute back to society, to continue on believing in the faiths that they've adopted through the program. So that's one piece of it. And about a year ago, I got introduced to a group called Communities for People. They're based out of Boston, but have a branch in Rhode Island. I believe they're trying to get into Connecticut and other new areas. But what they do is they work with DCYF of Rhode Island and their foster program. And the reason why I got involved, I was at a networking event, and the woman that was presenting this said, out of the 2,000 children in foster care, 50% will end up homeless on the street. I said, oh, nope, you won me. I'm done. Sign me up. What do we got to do to help out the kids? So I've had 2 mentees. My current mentee is a 17-year-old. He is a U.S. citizen, but home out of Guatemala. Beautiful, beautiful soul. Just a troubled childhood. Father had passed due to an accidental overdose. Mother's been deported. So now he's here in the system with nobody, by himself. He's got a couple of siblings, rarely gets to see them. But I want to be able to be his crutch, his friend that's not a staff member, somebody who he can talk to candidly, openly, honestly, and get true real-life advice. He's asked me some questions, and I've given him very much a dad response. So listen, I'll dial it back a little bit if you don't like this type of communication, but I do think it's important as a young man that you do have a firm man figure in your life to guide you through some of the challenges that you may be facing, that may be coming up your way days from now, years, months, weeks from now. We don't know. So our latest hurdle is trying to get him to graduate and get his GED.
That's
I'm trying my hardest in the most positive way to encourage him to get his diploma, but he dislikes school so much that he would rather do the online course and get his GED.
Well, it's wonderful work that you're doing, and I just want to say that one of the things our society has failed at is providing access to rehabilitation facilities for people who have suffered these kinds of problems. And we have failed to recognize the fact that most of the difficulty with respect to the drug addiction has to do with how people's neurology is set up. It's just everybody reacts to the ingestion of alcohol or some other type of medication in a different way. In fact, this is such a well-proved scientific fact that they now have pain relievers that don't get to the brain. They stop the pain before it goes into the brain so that the addiction isn't triggered. Because so many kids get addicted because they get an injury in sports or an injury somewhere else, and and then they have that and they suffer with it for years and years and years, if not forever. So having the understanding that this is a brain, it's just the brain is part of the body, yoo-hoo, and and we've got to stop separating the brain from saying medical and psychological. It's all medical. It's all medical. It's not. There should be no division there, Dennis.
I agree.
Yeah, it's my turn now.
1,000%.
I served for 12 years as a judge in the children's court, the children's probate court. And what I'm hearing from you is fantastic. There's a tremendous need for that kind of mentoring, and I love the word you used, mentee. I don't know if that's a real word, but I've used it myself. I don't know, but it's great. It describes it perfectly. And what you're doing for that kid is just amazing, because it's too bad not every kid is in that situation, has somebody there like you. But all you can do is your best. All you can do is what you can do to help anyone who is needy. And that's really that's the one thing we love about our town here in Windham, is that Windham is a town that welcomes everybody, and there's always somebody there here to help. If somebody cries out for help and needs it, we really have a lot of people that are willing to do that. And so you would love it here. I think you're going to turn Thompson around into that kind of place. And I think it's probably got a lot of great things that we don't have, but we're lucky. We're here near UConn. Eastern Connecticut State University is here. That gives us an edge to some extent. Anyway, this is I don't know what else you got on the.
I just wanted to go back into a little bit about family history, because I think that one of the things we had Black History Month at the Capitol today with the combination of the group that deals with women, minorities, and elderly people. And that's a nice conglomeration of people who get together every month to talk about policy for the legislature. But they had Black History Month today, too, so I felt pretty good that I was going to have you on the radio to discuss that as well. One of the things that they got into was the sense of multi-generational sense of family and community and history, and I just didn't know if you had some information about that from your experiences, from your mom's experience being the first Black woman to graduate from Providence College. And this is, so I just thought maybe you would like to talk a little bit about that, because part of Black history, and at least from my perspective, is getting back in touch with your family and your roots.
Yeah, so I personally haven't done that. That is something on my agenda for this year. So in the next week, I'm actually filming a piece called Black History Alive, where I'll be interviewing those in the Windham area that have strong roots of Black history, and going back, we're talking centuries back. They've really done their due diligence on their family to discover some really good things, some really amazing things, and I'm looking forward to how that conversation is. But I personally haven't done that yet. Some of my family does stretch back up into Nova Scotia. I know that on my mother's side. On my father's side, it's all from the South, deep South. That's as far as I go with the history or lineage within my family.
Well, listening to Pat Wilson Phineas's her work over the last couple of years about her family coming through Guilford, exploring different black families that came here as slaves, and then have done such amazing changes and work and be part of the community. And one thing that we have here too is the Wyndham Textile and History Museum, and we have Jamie Eves, who did a wonderful history about Black history. And he, for example, our Jackson Street was named Jackson Street because of black families, and a lot of people don't realize that. Yeah. And so that's just
didn't know that.
Yeah, and we actually did one year we toured the cemetery for different people who were black. So we do have some good information through our Wyndham Textile and History Museum, but also through Pat Wilson Phineas's work. That was an amazing discussion about her background and family, and I think it's wonderful because it really helps people get that sense of community and sense of family, which all is kind of intertwined in a way.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So I'm really looking forward to diving into family history, discovering new lineages. I haven't been to a family reunion in a couple of years because a lot of the matriarchs of our family have passed on. So now we're waiting for those other ones to step into place to start bringing the family back together. And hopefully we have something that happens like that this year. We usually meet in Garter Park in Rhode Island for that. My main roots are in Rhode Island. I know I talk about Rhode Island a lot.
Well, I understand. I mean, I'm interested in Providence College. I used to be a big fan of Providence College basketball because there was a guy from Hartford, Connecticut. He was an All-American, high school All-American named Johnny Egan. He went to Providence and played there in the 50s. And Providence had a guy from Brooklyn, New York named Lenny Wilkins, and we were big fans of Providence. I remember going down to Madison Square Garden and seeing Providence play in the NIT, which was a big tournament back then, really big, much bigger than it is now. And Providence College really kind of hit the big time before UConn did in basketball. UConn has exceeded Providence now, of course, but back then, Providence College was a real good, great basketball school, and it was pretty small, and a small Catholic college. And you know, the sports history of Providence College is pretty. Talking about history is pretty interesting, and I'm sure your mother probably could tell you a lot about it. She probably enjoyed a lot of that. She doesn't go back that far, I'm sure, but you know, Providence College was, you know, was a member of the Big East when the Big East was really, really good. It's not. It has some good teams now, but they're not as strong as they used to be. Anyway, I think what Pat Wilson Phineas has done is amazing, but I think Pat is probably retired now, and I think
I'm not sure.
I think she might be. I think she, you know, we had her on the show here when she first got into the Stones project, and because you know she talked about how this teacher down near the shoreline contacted her and kind of got her into it. Of course, she knew she had, you know, tremendous history in her family already, with her father being a member of the Tuskegee Airmen. And, you know, we know another woman from Hartford whose dad was, she was actually a triplet. She used to be the secretary of the,
Denise Napier. Treasurer. Yeah, Denise Napier.
Denise Napier.
Yeah, our daughter worked for Denise Napier when, you know, she was first running for office, and our daughter just had gotten her master's in economics. I said, well, why didn't you talk to Denise Napier? And it worked out. She worked there for 4 years.
Yeah, she was. Her dad also was a Tuskegee Airman, and anyway, the fact that Pat knew that much about her family's history. Heck, I don't know that much about my own. I just saw for the first time my family, my father's family originated in Ireland. And you know, they had problems with a potato famine back in the middle of the 19th century, most notably in 1847. 1847 was the worst year when it really hit bottom over there, and that's why so many Irish people came to America. And it turns out I saw my great-grandfather's obituary when my father's youngest sister died at 97 about a month and a half ago. And her son found it, and he was born in 1847 in Ireland, came here when he was 16, and he was a firefighter in New Britain, Connecticut. And it was just amazing because I had never known anyone that far back. I knew my grandfather. I remember my grandfather and grandmother they died when I was about 14, and I think it's amazing. I was thrilled to see it, and I think you will. You can probably trace your roots even farther back because they're probably more so in the U.S. or at least on this continent. You mentioned Nova Scotia, so you'll probably really love doing that. But I don't know how you're going to do it, Andrew, with doing all the great stuff you're doing now.
We got to make time for all things.
You got it. You got it.
It was funny. It was talking with some other folks there, and it's like we all seem to have a lot of irons in the fire. But I think internally we have to balance them ourselves as best we can. Sure, I have businesses. Sure, I'm a husband. I'm a father. Me and the kids travel for racing. Getting involved into the NAACP, getting involved into local politics. I'm not sure if either of you have heard, but it looks like I'm going to be tapped as the next chair of our DTC in Thompson as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, guess who was chair of the DTC for a long time in Willimantic? Me.
I just want to go from one more thing about you, and that is you have a marketing business, and just a quick little summary about that. We got a couple minutes, and just tell us about your marketing business.
Yes, I mean, I played football for many years. Went up to semi-pro AAA football, but I'm always a nerd. I love computers. So I built my first computer at 13, first website at 14, and then I launched a website called DrewI.com back in '99. From there, I started to do designs, different artwork for clients around the nation because I leveraged the online communities that I was part of. From there, I've since redefined it to Marketing by Andrew, and now we do everything from your traditional marketing to all of your digital marketing. But the thing with me is I don't need any help from anybody else to do what I do. I shoot my own content, draft my own posts, and I do it all in-house internally. So I keep the overhead incredibly low so my price points for my clients can be low so that I can ensure a positive ROI. And I'm focused more on an ROI than anything.
Wonderful.
So some of the best stories that I have are would always harp and go to don't use stock photography for your business. Show your business. Don't be afraid to show people what you can do. And some people will say, well, I don't think it looks good. Well, I beg to differ, and I think the world might beg to differ. So there was a restaurant in Rhode Island called Wings on Five. They've since gone out of business. But while we were doing marketing, they were struggling to get over an average sale of $1,200 per day. And all they did was chicken wings and craft beer. Well, after 6 months of working together, we brought that $1,200 to $3,200 per day with peak sales of $7,500. If they would have stayed on the program, they would have ended up grossing $1.2 million off of beer and wings.
Wow, that's fabulous. And that's something that we really want to make sure that we, let people know about you and what you can do. And so how do they reach you?
They can reach me through the website, marketingbyandrew.com. They can reach me on Facebook, Andrew, IRBY, Andrew Irby. You can reach me on Instagram. It's MR for Mr. _ IRBYSR, because I am a senior.
Aha. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're running down. Any last words?
Man, I usually have things to say, but at the moment, I think we've covered most of the bases. One, I want to thank you both. Meeting you guys in person was a blessing, and having this opportunity is yet again another blessing. I hope it isn't our last time talking here on the radio, and I hope there's some more in the future. Next election season, I would absolutely love to bend both of your ears if possible, and also would love to get you guys up to Thompson.
Oh, I'd love to do that. I know Dennis and I love to travel around the area, and we'd love to get to Thompson. And Eastern Connecticut, of course, is I have very strong positive feelings about all of Eastern Connecticut. It really is wonderful, and it's right next door to Rhode Island, and so it's a great thing that we're here.
Well, folks, remember that name, Andrew Irby, IRBY. You're going to hear more from Andrew. He's got a great future in whatever he chooses to do. And Andrew, I hope you stay involved in politics. We need people like you in Connecticut government, whether it be at the local level, down at the Capitol, or wherever. But I like your ideas. I like your attitude, and I think you have a lot to contribute to us here in the state of Connecticut. Hopefully, maybe first for a while in Thompson, but then all over the state of Connecticut. And I thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with me and Susan Johnson.
Yeah, I thank you guys again for allowing me up here and also closing out Black History Month. Again, doing the speech at Calvary for MLK was, in my opinion, the Super Bowl for people of color. And this is just yet another cherry on the cake. So I thank you both from the bottom of my heart for this opportunity.
Thank you, Andrew. We're going to be back next week, folks, with another great guest on Let's Talk About It. Thanks for listening.